Sawadee and good afternoon, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of Schneider Electric Thailand, I would like to welcome all of you to the event today, which is BCG Economy and Growth Opportunities for Thai Industries. Before we start, I would like to remind all of you that the spread of the COVID-19 still remain with us. They are not behind us yet. However, all of us are completely ATK tested. And therefore, we can rest assured that we use the maximum hygienic measures. But may I remind all of you that I would like to everyone to have the mask on at all time during the seminar for this afternoon. Well, I think that all of us might be aware that sustainability has become increasingly important in the past decades. And one thing in which all of us taken into account already is the BCG, which is bio, circular, and green. And all of us might agree that today digital transformation and innovation, technology, and scientific development are keys in order for all of us in order to improve the sustainability level in operating our business. And therefore, today will be the platform where all of the panelists, which come from different multinational companies, will be talking about their engagement in sustainability in BCG and, of course, the way in which they implement their business in terms of sustainability as well. But before that, due to the fact that this event, the BCG Economy and Growth Opportunities for Thai Industries, is organized by Schneider Electric Thailand in collaboration with iMasons. First, I would like to invite the head of marketing for Supernap, which is the data center provider here in Thailand, to come here upon the stage in order to speak on behalf of iMasons. And now, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Aurelie Doi to be on stage. Please give her a big warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Let me start with asking you a question. What would happen if you lose your phone, or if your phone loses its connection? The world as we know it today could not work without digital infrastructure. However, digital infrastructure is still a very unknown industry. Digital infrastructure is a collection of data centers around the world which provide electronic services to people and to devices, actually to all the devices connected. As mentioned, I'm Aurélie Douai, Head of Marketing for Supernap Thailand. We are the most advanced data center in Asia and the first hyperscale data center in Thailand. We are also iMasons Thailand chapter leaders with Schneider Electric, which I would like to thank today for all the team work that has been done and giving us the chance to grow, give back, and connect together as per the iMasons mission. The iMasons, which is actually Infrastructure Masons, is a non-profit organization with more than 2,000 members in 130 countries for responsibility of over $150 billion. The iMasons organization has been created to give the opportunity to all the people that design, build, and operate data center to make the world better with 4 main pillars: diversity and inclusion, technical innovation, education, and sustainability. If you are interested of joining the Thailand chapter, please contact me after the session. And I will leave the space to the BCG Economies, which initiative in Thailand, which I'm actually, as you are today, very much looking forward to learn about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opening address upon that. And now I would like to proceed further to another excitement highlight for this afternoon, which is the roundtable discussions, even though there is no table here, but we call it roundtable discussions anyway, upon the BCG and the engagement of the multinational companies in providing or in promoting sustainability and the BCG, as well as the way in which they will engage other partners in Thai industry in order to move together to promote the BCG and sustainability. Without further ado, I would like to invite the first panelist for this afternoon, who is the Vice President of National Science and Technology Development Agency, or what we call in Thai, สวทช. Assistant Professor Dr. อัครวิทย์ กาญจนโอภาส. Please give him a big warm welcome. And I would like to invite the second panelist who represent the company which is over 100 years old already here in Thailand. Everyone know that Sime Cement Group. Representing the SCG today is the Director of Sustainable Development, Mr. Nathawut Intrarod. And third, representing another Thai national multinational company or TU or Thai Union Group, I would like to invite upon the stage the Director of Sustainability for Asia, Mr. ปาด เกิดไพโรจน์ครับ And last but not least, I would like to invite upon the stage here the country president of Schneider Electric Thailand, Mr. Stefan Nuss. ขอเสียงปรบมือให้ท่านด้วยนะครับ Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Shall we remove it? Yep, otherwise we can't breathe. By the way, the exciting session here will be approximately 60 minutes. But of course, we don't expect that the four gentlemen will be sharing their practice. But at the same time, should you have any kind of questions, you can simply write it down on a piece of paper. But of course, in a readable manner, as I can read it out. And the gentleman upon here can answer your questions afterwards. And first of all, I would like to ask for the gentlemen to share their thinking about the engagement of their organization in BCG and sustainability. I would start with Ajahn Akarawet, who is from the NSTDA. I mean, I'm familiar with the Thai abbreviation more. Dr. Akarawet, what will you think about the engagement of SWTC in BCG development, how science and technology can improve BCG here in Thailand?
Thank you very much and good afternoon. May I start with the, when NASDA or SWTC, actually the Secretariat of the BCG for Thailand, chaired by the Prime Minister, and we have prepared the action plan and the strategic planning for the BCG, and that's the reason why Thailand has the BCG today. So I would like to begin with the role of NASDA to think about, as we all know, that the world has changed from the profit first to the planet first. So in order to do that, we have to think about we have only one planet to begin with. And when we say something that we throw away certain things, there's no throwing away. It always ended up somewhere else, either in our neighborhood or coming back to our society at the very end. So and we see that it is a global trend of the world that we are moving towards sustainability, and the industry is changing from digital economy towards more of the green economy, and that's the reason why we proposed that Thailand should not miss the trend. Instead of focusing on just sustainability issue, we then encompassed other two elements: the bioeconomy, circular economy, and green economy all together. And that's the reason why Thailand is very unique in terms of the BCG. Because if you talk outside of Thailand with the BCG, a doctor would think it's a kind of vaccine to prevent a certain diseases when you were young. So this is a very unique for Thailand, but it overall is not that different from other concepts of sustainability and green economy. So the role of NASDA is to actually prepare for the plan, as I mentioned, to think about where in the position of Thailand can fit into the circular and green economy. So we think about agriculture, energy, the new energy, food, of course. Khun Prat will mention that later on, because the world is increasing in number of population. We probably reach to nearly 10 billion people by 2050. Therefore, the food demand will be increased by 60%. And where do we get the food from? So food, agriculture, energy, of course, living, the way we live, Our home should be eco-friendly. The way that we live our life, as well as in terms of other preparation for Thailand. We know that our legal framework is not yet up to date. Some of the laws is very old. It may not be able to comply with certain things. So NASDA prepare 11 action teams to drive that BCG in action and propose it to the cabinet about 3 years ago. That we should move into these directions, and we're focusing on anything from food agriculture all the way to health and medicines. And COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated that we're not very secure. The world is actually secure on health securities and even certain medical device like mask. We could not produce it in Thailand at first. So this kind of thing has to be taken into the considerations. So the BCG for Thailand is not only a certain industry, but it's overall of a Thai industry. And human resources is one of the important things. So one of the 11 teams that drive the BCG in action, as you see in this slide, is to looking at talent and entrepreneurs. So we try to promote young startups company related to the BCG, all the way to working with a multinational company or the Thai large enterprises in order to help, because only one person cannot drive the BCG altogether. Not only one country can drive it together. It's become the United Nations goals of the 17 goals of United Nations, because it is only one world, as I mentioned at the beginning. So the role of NASDA is to prepare the country to be ready for that and submit it to the cabinet in order to make it as a level 3 strategic plan. That means all the ministry, all the organization, government and private sector must comply with this plan and move Thailand forward to a better sustainable countries in the 20 years periods, including carbon neutralities. So the first round, I think I'll stop at that for the role of NASDA so far.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Akarawit. Dr. Akarawit, microphone is on here. อย่างที่อาจารย์ได้บอกไปนะครับว่าจากprofit first ก็คือเรื่องของกำไรสำคัญที่สุดมาเป็นเรื่องของโลกใบนี้เพราะเรามีโลกแค่ใบเดียวครับเราไม่มีโลกสำรองนะฮะทางด้านของ NASDA หรือว่าสวทช.เองก็ได้มีการเตรียมการเรื่องของแผนงานนะครับแล้วก็เล็งไปที่อุตสาหกรรมหลักๆนะครับบางอุตสาหกรรมที่คิดว่าเป็นอุตสาหกรรมมันเป็นตัวหลักในการที่จะ drive อุตสาหกรรมเราไปข้างหน้าและสำคัญมากคือเรื่องของทรัพยากรบุคคลรวมถึงผู้ประกอบการกันด้วยนะครับ Well, now I would like to ask the same questions to the country manager of Schneider Electric here in Thailand, Monsieur Nus. Well, can you describe to me what is the involvement and the engagement or the participation of Schneider Electric here in Thailand in improving sustainability through the BCG and through your technological know-how, Mr. Nus?
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. It is my great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Yes, so I'm the country manager of Schneider Electric in Thailand. And I think if we take one step back, as we are just almost exiting the COVID crisis, I hope so. I think that the world today is extremely uncertain. I think we can all agree that with what is happening, of course, unfortunately, with the war between Russia and Ukraine, the inflationary environment, as well as the interest rates which are increasing, the supply chain, the electronic shortage, etc. Well, there are lots of issues and lots of difficult activities to manage around us. But one thing which is very sure is the focus on sustainability. And I think that's, the best proof of it is when I see this room, with all of our panelists, of course, with all our customers, partners, etc. I think that this is showing clearly that, yes, now we have only one planet. It's not only about profit, but it's also about sustainability and the way we will leave the planet after. So I think that's a very important point. And the way we... just to move the slides, where should I press? The green one. Okay. Okay, sorry. Good. I think what is very interesting to see is that there are big commitments which have been taken by all the, let's say, the community around us, starting, of course, with government and public bodies everywhere around the world, in Europe, in US, in Asia, in Thailand, government and public bodies are taking very big commitments. And as well as, I would say, private sector. And we are a very good proof of it, Schneider, Thai Union, SCG, etc., and all of you leading the sustainability topic in your different corporations. So I think that's a very good news. And the way we see it at Schneider Electric is really articulated around what we call two megatrends. The first megatrend is what we call digital, right? And I think we can all agree, especially after COVID or during COVID, digital has accelerated. Good news today, we meet face to face. And frankly speaking, it's great because it has been a very long time that we have not been able to meet face to face, right? But we can all agree that we have accelerated significantly the use of digital in everything we do in our professional life, in our personal life. And the good news is that digital is generating efficiency. Digital is the best way to generate smart efficiency and to better optimize everything we do, again, in our personal and professional life, right? And the second mega trend we see is around electricity. Electricity today is accelerating the mix, the energy, in the energy mix, electricity is accelerating everywhere around the world, in Thailand as well, with the acceleration, of course, of renewable, okay, solar, wind power, as well as nuclear in some countries, and of course with the use of electrical vehicle, right? Electrical vehicle, microgrid, etc. So definitely electricity is accelerating, and the good news as well is that electricity is the most decarbonized energy. Okay, so the more we use electricity, the better it is for our planet, to make it simple. And those two mega trends combined together is what we call at Schneider Electric the equation for the future. More digital, more electric means more sustainability and more efficiency. And the beauty of it is that this is what we do at Schneider Electric. Okay, what we do at Schneider Electric is that we provide connected products, software, analytics, artificial intelligence, services, which are directly contributing to this, let's say, decarbonization of the of our own activities and the activities of our customers, right? And I think back to the question, what is your mission? What are you doing? What is important to understand for us at Schneider Electric is that sustainability is not a new topic. And we have, I mean, I can say proudly, as well as with a lot of humility, that Schneider Electric, we have been pioneering the sustainability topic since more than 10 years. Okay, we started the journey 10 years ago. We were one of the only corporations very active on sustainability. We put this at the core of our strategy. And as a result, last year, we have been recognized by Corporate Knights. So Corporate Knights is a leading organization on rating the companies on sustainability. And Corporate Knights have recognized us as the most sustainable company in the world, which is a great recognition. Again, very humble about that, because yes, we have reached this last year, but this means that we have a very big responsibility for the years to come. And back to the question, our mission is really to continue to lead the sustainability topic, to pioneer the sustainability topic in the ecosystem where we are interacting. And the way we see it today is based on two pillars. The first pillar on the left, what we call leading ESG, so environment, social, governance, being a role model in our own ecosystem, which means that we want Schneider Electric to lead, to be the example, to take care of ourselves first, of course, on those different activities, on ESG, okay, environmental, social, and governance. And for example, on environmental, we have a couple of months ago announced our new carbon pledge. Okay, so we have committed to be carbon neutral, scope 1, scope 2. So for those ones being familiar with this notion of scope 1, scope 2 means on our own operations, okay? Our own factories, our offices, the carbon footprint of our employees, etc. So on scope 1, scope 2, by 2025, we will be carbon neutral. 2025 is tomorrow. So yes, no, really. So big pressure on us. But 2025. In 2030, okay, we have committed to be net zero carbon on our own operation. So carbon neutral, you know, you can compensate. Net zero is really, you cannot compensate. You are totally carbon zero, let's say, okay? And ultimately, in 2040, we have committed to have a carbon neutral end-to-end approach on the entire value chain, which means that we include suppliers, we include vendors, and we include downstream customers, supply chain as well. So end-to-end on everything we do, everything we touch, I would say, we hope, we have committed to be carbon neutral by 2040, which is, I would say, somehow more ambitious than the average, and especially the commitments from COP26, for example. Okay, so this is on the first pillar, on what we do for us, Schneider Electric. And the second pillar on the right is more together with you, our ecosystem of partners, our customers, is to help you, to support you in reducing as well your carbon footprint. And this is our, I would say, very directly our business. Our business is as well to help you as customers to decrease your energy consumption, to decrease your carbon emissions, to optimize your processes, to reduce your maintenance cost, etc. So this is what we do at Schneider Electric with our products, with our software, etc. But I think what is important is to understand that we have started again since a long time ago. Okay, and I will not go to the details of this slide, but you see that it has started at the bottom left in 2007. Okay, 2007 we have started our journey on our own factories. Okay, dealing on topics with water, energy consumption. We care, of course, on the incident rates of our people. Zero waste, renewable electricity, and ultimately now on the top right, we have already 51 net zero CO2 sites. So we have more than 200 factories across the world, okay, and already 50 of them are net zero, right? And the message I want to pass here, and again, you know, we don't want to give lessons. We are very, very humble about this, but what the message I want to pass, to share, is that we have started a long time ago. We have learned. We have faced many issues. We have discovered, okay? And we have implemented methodology. We have implemented product solutions which are generating results. So the key message here is that, yes, the solution, they exist. The solution exists. You know, it's not that we have to create something flying to the moon, very complex. No. The technology exists. Okay? And the beauty of it, and this is what I will try to share here. Yes, for example, take our factory in Bangpoo. Okay, we have a factory in Thailand, south of Bangkok. Look at just the number, the last bullet point. Total saving over 25 years, 1.6 million euros. Okay, back to your point. It's not only profit; it's profit and planet. I like the concept, by the way. Look, the technology exists, it is good for the planet, and it's good for your P&L. It's good for your companies, it's good, it's generating payback. The payback is here, right? So I think this is a very important message I want to share with you, that yes, it exists. And we are deploying this as well with some of our Thai customers. So we have started with us, we have learned with our own factories, with our own solution, and we have started to deploy this with some of the key Thai corporations. Take, for example, Eastwater. I think all of you know Eastwater, a major water utility in Thailand. They are managing 500 kilometers of water pipes. Okay, and when you are a water utility, one of the major pain points, okay, is to manage water loss. There are losses, water losses everywhere. So of course it costs a lot of money. It's of course very damageable for the planet, etc. So what we have deployed, you can see, connected products at the bottom left. So all the water pipeline is equipped with products. Those products are collecting data. Okay, they take data from the ground, from the field. They send those data to the layer 2, what we call edge control. So those data are processed, okay? And then it is sent on what we call apps and analytics in the cloud, where we run our own analytics, our own artificial intelligence. So Eastwater can, let's say, implement and deploy, reduce, I would say, water losses. Okay, and here you can see water losses is reduced by 10%. Energy consumption is reducing by 15%, and overall efficiency of the process is improving by 20%. So you see, it's good for the planet, good for their business, good for their operations. And the last example I want to share with you is another important Thai company, Thai corporation. It's PEA, okay, famous electricity utility, provincial electricity authority. So they manage 20 million customers, 20 million customers over the country of Thailand, right? And of course, one of their main concerns is to make sure that there is no power cut, that there is no interruption, that they can be future ready, I would say, for the increase of renewables, the increase of electrical vehicles. So we are deploying right now, as we speak, a major project about digitizing their entire electrical network. And we are deploying what we call advanced digital management system. To make it short, they will be able, in one room, to see real time what is happening on the entire electrical network, okay, in the country of Thailand, okay, and then take immediate actions if there is an alert, if there is an issue on the network, and then ultimately reduce the interruption, reduce the losses on the electrical network, and be future ready for electrical vehicle and renewables. Okay, so those are a couple of examples, concrete examples. Again, it's not something coming from the moon, I would say. No, those are concrete examples. Yes, the solution exists, and yes, it's generating payback. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your powerful answer ชอบตบมือได้นะฮะ You impress all of us a lot. One piece of paper is not enough to pack your intelligence นะครับนะฮะต้องขออนุญาตแปลสั้นๆนะครับผมชอบคำนี้ท่านบอกว่า solution exists มันมีอยู่แล้วนะครับไม่ต้องเดินทางไปที่โลกพระจันทร์นะฮะมันมีอยู่แล้วนะครับแล้วตัวอย่างที่เราให้เห็นนะครับก็คืออย่างกรณีของ Eastwater ก็ดีแล้วก็กฟผ.การไฟฟ้าส่วนภูมิภาคก็คือใช้เทคโนโลยีใช้เรื่องของ Cloud นะครับเข้ามาบริหารจัดการทรัพยากรให้มีประสิทธิภาพอย่างสูงที่สุดกันด้วยนะครับส่วนหนึ่งก็คือเรื่องของการที่บอกนะครับว่า milestone ในการเดินหน้าครับท่านบอกว่าพรุ่งนี้ก็คือปี 2025 ของท่านเนี่ยนะครับก็จะเป็น Carbon Neutral นะครับแล้ววันมะรืนวันต่อไปนะคือปี 2030 อันนี้ก็จะเป็นNet Zero คือไม่มีคาร์บอนอีกต่อไปแล้วนะครับถัดไป 2040 ไม่ใช่เฉพาะ Schneider Electric แต่เพียงอย่างเดียวแต่ว่ายังเป็นซัพพลายเออร์ที่อยู่ในเชนเขานะครับแต่ว่าพิลล่า2พิลล่าซึ่งเขาได้บอกครับ1ก็คือตัวองค์กรเขาเองแต่2ครับผู้ที่เป็นพาร์ทเนอร์ผู้ที่อยู่ร่วมกันจะได้สามารถเดินหน้าไปได้เพราะว่าโซลูชันนั้นเรามีอยู่ในมืออยู่แล้วกันด้วยนะครับดังนั้นต่อไปนะครับ and next I would like to ask the same questions with a company whose name is representing sustainability, and today we have the father of sustainability in that organization because he's Sustainable Development Director นะครับ and I would like to ask Kun Natawut to share with us the engagement as well as the involvement of SCG in the field of BCG as well as sustainability.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone in this room. I think everyone here, we are in the VUCA world, right? With the VUCA world, why we have to exist here? With SCG, we already 109 years already, but we would like to move on in another 100 and another 100 with this country and every footprint in Southeast Asia. Right now, we have 3 core businesses. The first one, we born from the cement company. We emit the CO2 to the atmosphere already 109 years. That is our sin. And this is our chance to make this world better and better, to bring this back to the next generation. And the second, we produce chemical plastic. But right now, we turn our pot from the gray one to the green one. But it pays bit by bit, right? We need time, we need money to move it on, but we never stop. The last one is about the packaging. We turn the paper industry business 5 years ago, thanks Kun Lung Lod, our CEO. 10 years ago, we turned our paper industry business to the packaging business with the solution that provide the solution to the customer in the Thai society, but not Thai right now. Almost every country in Southeast Asia, we provide already. That's all about the key thing that we produce to the society. But all of this, why we operate based on the sustainability? Because it's about our business philosophy. Based on the 4 core values of SCG, we would like to turn everything back to the social responsibility that we taking into account why we have to do the green thing like this. And this is a ESG 4+ that we would like to move on along the BCG of the government. BCG is a new S-curve of Thailand, right? But without support from the private sector like SCG, we cannot move on this policy that will drive this country for our next generation and drive this country for the next decade, right? The first one that we would like to solve about our sin that will emit the CO2 to the atmosphere, right? We launched the net zero project, net zero activity, net zero policy to achieve the net zero by 2050. We not necessarily to wait for the readiness, but we have to test and learn and then move on our every muscle in Thailand, in every footprint that we have already in Southeast Asia, along the decarbonization pathway that we already draft, already plan. And right now we have the roadmap to net zero for the 2050 already. But to prove this, we are along this road or not. We already registered with the science-based target to prove that we are in the same pace with other countries, with other companies like in Europe. So we are in the journey. That is the first one that we launched, that Mr. Lungrod announced to the investor last year. The second thing, I think everyone have to move to the green. The green one is the initiative that can make this group survive. So we turn our port, and we believe that in the next 20 years, in the next 10 years, over 50% of our revenue from sales is come from green. That is our challenge, right? But we have to do it now. We have to act now, right? And the third thing, we cannot leave someone behind. We have to go together, not just our in the value chain, but the whole Thai community as a whole. So we have to reduce inequality that happen from this transformation, right? Some occupation will disappear in the future. And you think we can leave someone behind us? We can't, right? We have to help each other. SCG will help Thai government, help other government in other countries that we already have the footprint to move it up, to lift everyone in the society to the move in the green road together with SCG. And the last, we cannot do anything, everything by ourselves. We need a collaboration from not just the private sector, government sector, but we need a collaboration from the whole society. That is the 4 key things that we already launched, right? But all of that, we have to operate based on the good governance, transparency, fairness, and everything that we do on every activity, they have to trace back why we have to do like this. And we can answer every questions that emerge from the society, from our stakeholder. That all the key things that we proposed last year. And right now we are on the journey of that. That's all.
Thank you very much, Kun Nathawood, for having shared with us the information about 109 years old company นะครับก็ทางด้านของคุณณัฐวุฒิก็บอกแบบนี้นะครับว่าพูดถึงประกาศพันธกิจก่อนเลยนะครับว่าภายในปี 2050 นะครับก็จะเป็น net zero นะครับซึ่งท้าทายมากแต่อีกส่วนนึงที่ผมว่าท้าทายกว่าคือว่า 50% นะครับของตัวรายรับจะต้องมาจากสิ่งที่เป็นเรื่องของกรีนแต่ว่าสิ่งที่ชอบมากคือเรื่องการย้ำนะครับว่าไปคนเดียวไม่ได้หรอกครับเรามีองคาพยพรอบตัวเลยในระบบนิเวศของ SCG ก็มีองค์กรต่างๆด้วยจะทำอย่างไรให้เดินหน้าพร้อมไปด้วยกันนะครับ In the next round I'll ask the three gentlemen from the corporate to address also the way in which they engage for example their ecology as well as their partners which is quite important because without collaboration we move alone and alone we can't achieve anything and I would like to ask the representative from Thai Union Group, of course, one of the proud Thai multinational company who have the operations many places all around the world. Kuprat, I know that your company seems to stress a lot in terms of value of sustainability as well as the BCG. Can you elaborate to us what kind of involvement and engagement as well as development of your engagement in terms of sustainability that you have been doing in the past years or decades?
Thank you very much and thank you for inviting me to represent Thai Union and talk about our sustainability and biocircular green economy from the food sector perspective. So really the journey on sustainability and BCG has been really embedded in our core company strategy since 2016 when we launched our sustainability strategy excuse me, called Sea Change. So that was launched in 2016 and really the mission of the company is to be a global seafood leader, to be the most trusted brand for seafood. So when consumers and customers think about good, sustainable seafood, they think about us. So that's really part of the company's core strategy since 2016. And really the core objectives, there are three parts that you can see on the slide. First, obviously, we are a seafood company, so we have to rely a lot on the, ocean resource. So the sea have to be sustainable now and for future generations. Secondly, we not only care about environmental sustainability, but also the people. So the workers, the people, our employees who work in our factories, who work in our supply chain, we have to take care. So it's about safe and legal employment for workers. And third, very important, climate change. It's an existential crisis. It impacts the planet. It impacts the oceans. It actually can have impact on things like fish populations, seafood distribution around the world. So it has material impact on seafood company like us. So we have to combat the climate change, with other industries and also promoting healthy diets through seafood, sustainable seafood. As you might know, there are studies out there that look at things like carbon footprint of meat, protein, all sorts of protein, and you can compare things like chicken, beef, and seafood. And in many metrics, seafood appears to have lower environmental footprints. Although, we know that we still have room to improve and so on. So that's really the core strategy. And, it trickles down into four pillars of our strategy. One, it's about safe and legal labor. Again, it's about people. So I'm not going to elaborate on that so much today. Responsible sourcing. We do not own any fishing vessels. We do not own farms. But to drive sustainable practice, we have to work very closely with all these suppliers around the world and in Thailand to improve their practice. So it's about how we source and how we take care of the resource. Responsible operations. So this pillar, it's about our own factories. So we are a processor. We have many factories around the world. Several ones in Samut Sakhon and one in the province of Songkhla. So we have to make sure that the processing operation is green, etc. And the last pillars, people and communities, that is about CSR, right? Taking care of people who live or work, stay with us or surrounding in the area that surround our factories. So what are examples of things that we do on responsible sourcing? So one of the key species that we source are tuna, And as a matter of fact, actually, most of the tuna are not caught in Thailand. They don't really live in the Gulf of Thailand or Andaman Sea. So it's really from, all over the world. So we source from all over the world. And this relies on, hundreds and hundreds of fishing vessels. So what we do is that back in 2016, we set what we call a tuna commitment for 2020, that at least 75% of the tuna that we source for our own brands, like Select, for example, in Thailand, need to be qualified for the Marine Stewardship Council standard, which is like a standard for wild catch seafood sustainability, or the boats have to participate in fishery improvement projects. So that it's a project that suppliers, people like us, and governments work together to improve their capacity and standards, so that one day they qualify to be certified as MSC. So by 2020, we achieved 87%, and now we're looking at achieving 100% by 2025. So that's like, again, tomorrow. Now, a bit on responsible operations. Again, this is about our own factories. So what do? Like, we install like solar rooftop, for example, to increase our use of renewable energies, right? We reduce things like waste to landfill, improve water usage, water utilization, reducing, injury rate, and things like that. So I'm not going to go into details, but it's all available. I'm happy to share these slides. It's also available on our sustainability report on the website. The other things we do on the supply chain, as you can see, that's our CEO, Kun Thirapong, what we call Ghost Gear Initiative. So these are fishing, tools, fishing gears, fishing nets that fishermen use to catch the seafood, and sometimes it's abandoned, sometimes it was discarded, or because of the accident it was lost at sea and it became pollution for oceans. So we work with suppliers to help them reduce those footprints in the supply chains. Well, talking about BCG, one of the key things about circular economy, so one of the core principles is to utilize, the resource as much as you can, right? So for us, like, we catch a seafood, we have the tuna, so we want to really use all part of it and, not just leave it to become fertilizer or send to landfills or without any, useful use. So one of the things we do, we really try to utilize all parts, right? The meat go to human consumption, go into the can, some part go into pet food. The bones, we have a factory in the south that actually kind of extract the tuna bone and turn into a calcium. So that's very good. So we try to utilize all parts of tuna, and then we explore, supplement business that use all the nutritions, from the sea, especially from tuna, and things like exploring alternative protein, because we know that there's a high demand for consumers, and especially, for some group of consumers that really care about the plant-based alternative proteins. So we're talking about green, but also blue is very important to us, given that we are, seafood company. So one of the things that we recently launched in collaboration with financial institutions in Thailand, it's what we call the Blue Finance. In a sense, we work, so we get kind of discount interest rate from these financial institutions if and only if we meet sustainability related KPIs that are material to the companies. And we agree with financial institutions and third-party rating companies to look at, well, what are the KPIs, right, that are material and significant for a company like Thai Union. One is Dow Jones Sustainability Index. So that's kind of one of the way to measure the company's performance. So we agree that, we have to retain number one or number two. We have to be in the top 10 to be qualified for the first KPIs, right? And secondly, on the carbon footprints, that's another one that we set the goals. And the third one is that about sourcing of our tuna, we have to make sure that all by in 5 years or so. All the tuna boats that we source from, they must install electronic monitoring tool or have human observer who will then, or the EM or human observer will be able to detect and independently report what they spot on when there is irregularities on fishing boats, whether things like not complying with local fishery law, right? Engaging in illegal, unreported, unregulated fishings. So it's about using a lot of technologies. That's why it's very interesting that Schneider mentioned about digital partner, because I think one of the key ways that yes, we do need digital partners to drive sustainability, but also from consumer and customer side, they also need reliable data, right? To know, how do they know that company like Thai Union are truly transparent? So things like digital technologies, IT, the AI and things like IoT, it's very helpful in that regard. So now that's our journey from 2016 and 2020, but now we are looking beyond 2020. So I mentioned that we have a tuna commitment, so we want to achieve 100% responsible sourcing of tuna by 2025. One of the things that we look is we're gonna set a science-based target to be announced this year. So that would cover scope 1 and 2, which are indirectly on our control, but also scope 3, the vast supply chains, right? So we have to start looking at how we're going to help tuna vessels decarbonize their operations, how to help shrimp farmers decarbonize their farms, etc. Because that's also part of our footprint, although we do not have direct control. Another thing is sustainable packaging. Seafood use a lot of different forms of packaging. Part of it is can and metals, which are mostly sustainable, but parts of it are plastic. So we have to think about how to make it more sustainable. That's a bit of a glimpse into what we look forward in the futures. So I think I'll conclude my presentation for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive and eye-opening presentation คุณปราดก็อธิบายผมว่าเห็นภาพนะครับเพราะว่าคงเป็นท่านเดียวที่มาอุตสาหกรรมที่อยู่ในน้ำนะฮะเพราะที่เหลือเป็นอุตสาหกรรมที่อยู่บนบกทั้งหมดเลยนะฮะก็เรื่องของมหาสมุทรนะครับแล้วก็เรื่องการใช้ทรัพยากรอย่างคุ้มค่ามหาศาลผมเพิ่งทราบว่านอกจากก้างปลาที่ไปเลี้ยงสัตว์แล้วยังมีอื่นๆและสามารถสกัดออกมาเป็นอาหารเสริมได้อีกด้วยนะครับฟิชโชของที่นี่ป่ะฮะฟิชโชสแน็คส์นะฮะแล้วก็สิ่งสำคัญมากๆครับคือการใช้เทคโนโลยีเพื่อความยั่งยืนนะครับเช่นกรณีของผมไม่รู้เรียกถูกว่าปีโป้พอร์ตอินพอร์ตเอาท์นะครับเรือที่เขาไปจับปลาทูน่าไม่ใช่ปลาทูนะตัวใหญ่กว่านะฮะซึ่งไม่ได้มีในหน้าน้ำไทยจะได้รู้ว่าเขาอยู่ที่ไหนและเขาจะดีคาร์บอนไนซ์คือลดปริมาณนะครับของการสร้างคาร์บอนได้มากน้อยขนาดไหนเพราะว่าแค่ลำพังแค่สโคป1ก็คือตัวเองสโคป2ก็คือรอบตัวสโคป3ก็คือพาร์ทเนอร์เนี่ยต้องไปพร้อมกันให้หมดเลยนะครับและสำคัญมากที่ท่านบอกคือเรื่องของเทคโนโลยีการใช้เรื่องของดิจิทัลเข้ามาไม่มากก็น้อยมันสามารถที่จะช่วยทำให้เรามีโลกที่ยั่งยืนมากขึ้นกว่าเดิมกันด้วยนะครับก็ and now I think that is the first round but the second since we all understand that one company alone or even big conglomerates alone cannot achieve the sustainability goal. That means the entire world is better because we only have one planet. Therefore, I would like to ask the four gentlemen to share with share their practice of how do they engage and convince and urge their stakeholders and their partners in their ecology to move in the same sustainable way. And I would like to ask Ajahn Akarawit from NASDA first.
Thank you, Dr. Witt. Actually, the partnership is one of the key strategy for sustainability. So the role of NASDA in the BCG economy is actually to play the middleman, to be the what we call the intermediary organization in order to support not only the private sector in Thailand, but also the multinational company who would like to invest here in Thailand. As we all know, as the foreign direct investment. But moving into the sustainability theme, our role is to be able to support the whole level of the value chain, starting from entrepreneur level to the multinational company level. And in order for the company to actually get involved with a project like this or platform like this, incentive is very important. So the incentive that we can provide through the government agencies like BOI or the Department of Revenue is actually tax incentive and non-tax incentives. So those are the things that actually NASDA played an important role in that part. For example, if anything that you invested for your R&D regarding sustainability or not, you can claim 200 or 300% up to the revenue that you spend on that one before tax deductions. So depending on you are the large company or the smaller company, the larger company get a smaller deduction. But still, it's 200%. That means a double of the cost that you spend for that. So any technology that is available and you would like to implement it in order to bring your technology or the company to comply with the BCG, that can be reimbursed. Let's say that you invented something and you want other company to use it, to utilize it, or you can then list it that on the Thailand Innovation Index. And by law, the government must buy 30% of that products that is originally built in Thailand, up to 30%. Before you can buy any other products. So that's to support the local innovators in terms of the Thai innovation ecosystem. So all along, we do help with the entrepreneur, as I said. So, but building the country for the future, we only touch upon the sustainability so far, the circular economy so far. To move Thailand up to the pyramid of the bioeconomy, which is starting from fuel and phytochemical feed and food, and then all the way to the top of the bioeconomy pyramid, which is the pharmaceutical and medical. We need a new infrastructure. And when you ask me about how can NASDA be part of the ecosystem that bring not only the government agency works together, but also a platform to invite any company, Thailand or not, to join. And as you probably know that the new uprising area for Thailand is the Eastern Economic Corridor. And within that Eastern Economic Corridor, NASDA is building, actually it's already finished, and it will be opening, a grand opening will be the APEC Summit in November this year. That's what we call the EECI. EECI stands for Eastern Economic Corridor of Innovation. And we implemented 4 or 5 huge infrastructure government invested. For example, the ARIPOLIS stands for Automation, Robotics, Intelligent and Electronic Platform. BioPolis, of course, this is the bio platform that we can do the biorefinery, we can do extractions, we can do what do we call a smart greenhouse in order to produce food and plants derived material in a very efficient way. Last but not least is the space in Annapolis, which using all the space station that we have at Jista in Sriracha, utilize that information and also to help with the aviation and aerospace technology platform. That's something that we would like to move, and that's my responsibility at the Technology Management Center of NASDA to promote and support the future industry of Thailand. Of course, food is something that is along together with us. So Food Innopolis is already well established 5-6 years ago and will be part of that EECI platform. And these are all welcome to any company, any organization who would like to join. And there will be a super incentive. What I call super incentive mean the EEC have their own act in order to provide an extreme incentive. For example, the personal income tax of the researchers or a scientist engineer who work within the EECI or the EEC pay only a certain personal income tax. Now we talk about being a regular person paying 30% of the personal income tax, but you only pay, I think, 17% personal income tax there. And then the smart visa system and some other thing that we are working together with the Department of Revenue and also the Board of Investment to attract company to work there. So that's one of the ecosystem that we're building and will be already up and running.
Thank you very much ขอบพระคุณมากนะครับอาจารย์อัครวิทย์นะครับเสริมปรบมือได้นะครับ I'm sure that due to the fact that once we mentioned about the incentive, I mean all of you might be interested in, and therefore after this you are allowed in order to ask the questions, and we also have the networking sessions where we can exchange information with the four gentlemen as well as to each other as well นะครับก็อย่างที่ท่านได้บอกนะครับเป็นศูนย์กลางในการรวบรวมนวัตกรรมกันด้วยนะครับแล้วก็จะมี incentive การดึงดูดนวัตกรนะครับแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งกรมสรรพากรอาจจะไม่ชอบแต่เราชอบก็คือเรื่องของการที่ลดภาษีเงินได้บุคคลธรรมดานะครับจาก 30% เป็น 17% และนอกเหนือไปจากนี้พื้นที่ EEC นะครับ Eastern Economic Corridor ก็จะมีอีกอันหนึ่งหลายคนก็สงสัยก็คือเพื่อที่จะเป็นพื้นที่เป็นแพลตฟอร์มในการสร้างนวัตกรรมกันด้วยนะครับ and now I wish to turn the same questions to SCG. I'm sure that your ecology is huge and vast,
Right.
and your supply chain is unimaginably long. How would you steer all of them together in the same direction, inspire them as well as excite them to move towards BCG and sustainability?
Regarding this question, everyone is in this room heard about scope 1, 2, and 3 already, right? We are in the scope 1 and 2, and already let something happen in scope 3, right? But not just us. Everyone in our value chain produce these with us. So we have the same journey, the common issue that help each other together. So with the net zero that we already announced to 2050, right? Everyone in our value chain have to embark in the same boat with us to reduce the CO2 emission from the scope 1, 2, and 3. With this, we start from our green procurement and ask them to join with us for the upstream side, I mean the supplier side, right? And for the downstream, right now we collaborate with the government to turn the OPC, ordinary Portland cement, that produce a lot of CO2 to atmosphere, right? Turn the OPC things that we use over 100 years in this country, turn to the hybrid. Hybrid cement is come up with the greener cement, less produce of CO2. This is the first move of us. We plan that in the next 5 years, we try to turn this green cement for the whole market in Thailand and extend this product to other countries that we have to footprint. This is the first move of us. But at the same time, right now we join with the Global Cement Concrete Association to make something with a big impact for this country by produce like a initiative, the roadmap of the cement and concrete for the net zero to achieve by 2050. Right now we join the collaboration between the government agency, as I mentioned, right? And the second, we try to join hand with the Thai Cement Manufacturer Association and Thai Concrete Association. When we join along the supply chain like this, from the upstream to the downstream, we help each other to produce the roadmap for this country. And we will announce this roadmap at the COP27 in Egypt. Right now it already exists, but need time for announce with the government. I think by the end of this year, you will see something, a big impact for this country. This is just example that we moved this year, right? But we still have the pathway that we have to achieve upper, higher belt in the next 2050 that we would like to achieve at net zero together, not just us, but the whole chain of the SCG that we do with the business in every sector, in every country in Southeast Asia and other countries in Europe also, that we already have a footprint in Portuguese.
Thank you very much ขอบคุณมากนะครับคุณณัฐวุฒินะครับก็เป้าหมายเราเห็นแล้วนะครับ2050ครับแต่ว่าเวลาที่เราพูดคงไม่ได้พูดถึงบริษัทใดบริษัทหนึ่งนะครับแต่เราได้ยินคำว่า scope 1 2 และ 3 นะครับท่านก็บอกว่า SCG แน่นอนที่สุดอธิบายมาแล้วว่าคงไม่ใช่1และแค่2และไป3ด้วยและนอกจากนี้การใช้นวัตกรรมครับเช่นเรื่องของการทำซีเมนต์และคอนกรีตนะครับซึ่งแต่เดิมอาจจะมีคาร์บอนเยอะเดี๋ยวก็จะมีการใช้รูปแบบที่เป็นไฮบริดนะครับเพื่อที่จะเข้ามาลดกันด้วยแล้วก็นอกเหนือไปจากนี้อันนี้เป็นสิ่งที่น่าตื่นเต้นนะครับเราได้ยิน COP26 ใช่ไหมฮะที่เอดินบะระสกอตแลนด์นะครับสหราชอาณาจักรเดี๋ยวจะมี COP27 ที่อียิปต์นะครับซึ่งตรงนั้นทางด้านของ SCG บอกว่าเราก็จะมีการประกาศนะครับสิ่งที่น่าจะเป็น สิ่งที่ยิ่งใหญ่แน่นอนที่สุดเป็นชื่อเสียงของประเทศด้วยว่าเรานั้น BCG และ Sustainability ด้วยนะครับขอบคุณมากนะครับ and now คุณปราด for TU as I mean we have already know that I mean your network is huge and your supply chain is extremely long your stakeholder is so uncountable normally do you have any kind of incentive or drive in order to urge all of your suppliers as well as your stakeholders to embark on the same boat if I can borrow your terms how would you do that
thank you for your questions I think one of the interesting perspective from being a business that have large footprints and customer profiles around the world that is we are affected by the trend the global trend of our customers governments whether it's the US Europe Japan Thailand etc and we see that the different governments are increasingly more active in terms of legislations like the laws like I know EU have considering I think draft laws on human rights and environmental due diligence. I think they're looking at carbon footprint legislation and so on. So we have to be ready. As a global business, we have to be ready, and it's also our roles to tell our suppliers to also be ready, because we can't really meet these legal expectations around the world where we source or we export our products without supply also compliance. That's right. So a lot of what we do is we have to explain to suppliers about all these global trends, legislations around the world. Help us help us help you, etc. And these small suppliers also they also not trade with only us but also with our competitors who are also affected by the same trend. So it's really maybe not an incentive, but helping them understand the disincentive of not doing sustainability and BCG. Now, on the more happy side, we also provide incentive. For example, as you might know, that we have been really serious about human and labor rights compliance since 2016, given that issues around labor in the seafood industry. So we have implemented our code of conduct that our suppliers must comply with, and if they do well, like we recognize them. We even have a blog that shows that these ABC suppliers are doing really well. They are complying very well. So we want to raise their profiles as well, so that they get exposed and they don't feel that they are doing this just for Thai Union, but it's also good for their business. Now a bit on the second thoughts on incentive. We also start to see more concrete incentive like financial or non-financial, like real resource incentive, right, from our customers and financial institutions. I have raised example in the previous slide on the blue finance. So you see actually like the financial institution rewarding us if we achieve KPIs, and it's very nice to help explain that to management, because if you achieve this XYZ, you get ABC amount in interest saving and things like that. So and some of our customers start to offer us as a supplier incentive, like for example if we do report on things like carbon footprint or meet certain KPIs, they are willing to work with their banks to give a more favorable supplier financing deal, for example. That's another measure. So I think it's interesting space for financial institution and banks to play a really important role in driving sustainable practice through incentive.
ขอบคุณมากครับ Thank you very much คุณปราด from Thai Union Group นะครับผมชอบคำนี้นะครับบอกว่านอกเหนือไปจากการกระตุ้นนะครับด้วยการให้ incentive แล้ว จะเป็นการชี้ผู้ประกอบการรายย่อยได้ทราบนะครับว่าโทษของการที่ไม่เข้าร่วมมันมีอะไรบ้างเขาจะได้เห็นนะครับนอกเหนือไปจากนี้เมื่อสักครู่ได้มีการพูดถึง Blue Finance ครับคือการที่ว่าถ้าเราเนี่ยปฏิบัติตามหลักการนะครับตามเช็คลิสต์ของ Sustainability และ BCG ไปแล้วเนี่ยเราก็จะได้รับอัตราดอกเบี้ยที่ต่ำลงนะครับจากบรรดาเจ้าของแหล่งทุนเขาด้วยแต่คงไม่ได้ valid เฉพาะองค์กรใหญ่อย่างเช่นThai Union ครับแต่ว่าบรรดา supplier นะครับแล้วก็ partner เขาจะได้ทราบครับว่า หากว่าเรื่องของมิติ sustainability นั้นถูกนำเข้าไปคำนวณในการพิจารณาการให้สินเชื่อในอัตราดอกเบี้ยที่ถูกลงก็น่าจะเป็นประโยชน์ด้วยเช่นเดียวกันนะครับ Well, Mr. News, due to the fact that you are the enrichment behind the development of sustainability of several organizations, how would you say about urging different companies and partners, because you engage in different industries, in order to stress in the importance of BCG and sustainability?
I think the most important point is the structuration, how you approach sustainability. There is no secret. It's not by magic. It's not with a magic stick. It's not coming from the moon again or whatever. It requires a very, I would say, precise, structured approach, right? And for me, the first point which is important is about governance. It has to start from the deep inside of the organization. And when I listen to my colleagues from Thai Union, SCG, and even the way it's presented by NSTDA, you feel that all those companies, and Schneider of course, we all have taken this very seriously. Governance, which means that, it's not something, sustainability is not something on top of. Well, if I have time, maybe tomorrow. No. To be serious about it, governance, you have to put sustainability everywhere, in everything we do, every minute, with everyone, right? And for example, it's not only about having a dedicated sustainability organization, but in everything you do in sales, in finance, in HR, in research and development, in innovation, production, all the activities of an organization should have a dedicated focus as well on sustainability, right? And it comes to the performance measurement, and especially what has been mentioned by Thai Union. Of course, we are all challenged on sales, top line, margin, profitability, as well as sustainability. And to give you very precisely the example of Schneider, we all have a sustainability objective in our incentive scheme, in our bonus. Yes, 30%. We are serious about it, right? So the first point is about governance. The second point is about having the right methodology. And what we have observed with all our different customers over the years, etc., is that more or less you can summarize it in 3 steps. And by the way, this is exactly what you mentioned. The first step is what we call strategize, which means that you need to understand where you are. What is the as-is situation? What is your baseline? Where you are starting from, okay? And then only having this vision, this understanding, then you can create a roadmap, define the direction, and very importantly, communicate. You have to communicate to everyone, the community inside the company, the organization, and outside with all the different stakeholders on what is your objective. The second part is about digitizing. Once you are clear on where you are, where you want to go, once you have shared it with the different stakeholders, you measure. Exactly what you mentioned. You have to measure. You have to know what is the trend? Is it improving? Is it decreasing? Okay. What is the benchmark? How do I position myself versus the other companies? And then you report. Okay. And the last point, the third step, I would say, is about decarbonizing. So really executing, putting in place the right actions. Okay. So again, it's about the technology, the products, the software, the analytics, the services, etc. Okay. And this is the only time where you can generate decarbonization. And this is where the importance of ecosystem is coming. And the third step, so number 1, governance, number 2, methodology, number 3, ecosystem. The importance of the ecosystem. We are not alone. If we want to do it by ourselves, forget about it. forget about it. So, for example, those are informations, activities we are doing with our community, for sure with our employees, for sure with our customers. So, for example, we plan to generate 800 million ton CO2 saved thanks to our solutions with our customers by 2025. Take investors. We are a listed company, okay? We have shareholders. So we have committed publicly, like we do on our sales, like we do on our margin, on our profit. We have committed that on sustainability, we will generate 80% of our revenues with our green solutions, right? On the communities, what you mentioned as well, it's very important to, I would say, educate the different communities where we are operating. Okay, so for example, we are planning to train 1 million people across the world, of course, 1 million people on energy management. Okay, suppliers, scope 3, remember scope 1, 2, 3, scope 3 is supply, including suppliers. We are working right now with our top 1,000 suppliers. So we have selected the biggest one. We start with the biggest one, top 1,000. We will help them to divide by 2 their CO2 emissions by 2025. Okay, so this is the way. Those are the key success factors we see. Again, governance, methodology, and ecosystem. And back to the. I just have one slide that I wanted to share with you. Yeah, this one. Again, being serious about it is to measure. Strategize, digitize, decarbonize. And this is the way we monitor the performance, our performance internally of our own factories. So you see, it's very financially driven, I would say. It's the same way we monitor the different financial KPIs. Here we monitor the different sustainability KPIs. So zero CO2 sites, renewable electricity, energy efficiency, biodiversity, water management, and you see at the bottom of the bottom, operational CO2 reduction. Okay, and we monitor this on a quarterly basis. We have this in our bonuses. That's the only way, according to us, to make it happen. Let's say, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your sharp recommendations. I like that. We need to monitor it and quantify it in numbers นะครับหน้าสุดท้ายท่านก็บอกแบบนี้นะครับดีที่สุดครับทำแล้วจะได้เห็นผลด้วยมอนิเตอร์ได้ว่าตัวเลขของเขาเป็นอย่างไรนะครับแต่ว่าท่านได้บอกเอาไว้หลายอย่างนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องการที่ว่าสิ่งเหล่านี้ครับมันเกิดขึ้นมันไม่ใช่นั่งแล้วมันออกมาจากกระบอกไม้ไผ่นะฮะหรือว่ามันเสกมาหรือมันเป็นมหัศจรรย์นะฮะแต่มันเป็นสิ่งที่เราต้องทำครับและคำว่าเราต้องทำเริ่มต้นจาก governance ครับก็คือการบริหารจัดการธรรมาภิบาลในองค์กรกันก่อนท่านทราบว่าคนที่ทำธุรกิจครับ Schneider Electric เองก็ตามแต่ก็ต้องคิดยอดขายเป็นยังไงกำไรเป็นอย่างไรบาลานซ์ชีตเป็นอย่างไรแต่พอเห็นเรื่อง sustainability กลายเป็นลูกเมียน้อยไปซะอย่างนั้นนะฮะเพราะฉะนั้นถ้าว่าเรา take it seriously คิดว่ามันเป็นสิ่งสำคัญครับเหมือนเป็น KPI ตัวหนึ่งในการทำธุรกิจมันก็สามารถเดินหน้าไปได้นะครับอีกส่วนหนึ่งเลยนะครับก็คือในส่วนของ methodology นะครับท่านก็ให้ข้อมูลมามากมายเช่นเรื่องของการวางกลยุทธ์นะครับการเดินหน้าไปทีละน้อยแต่อีกส่วนที่สำคัญมากครับก็คือเรื่องของระบบนิเวศ ecology นะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นพนักงานตัวเองการทำให้พวกเขาได้รู้ครับว่าการประหยัดพลังงานการเดินหน้าอย่างมีความยั่งยืนนั้นเป็นอย่างไรระบบนิเวศเองก็ตามแต่นะครับแต่ท่านย้ำบอกแบบนี้เลยว่าสิ่งเหล่านี้มันไม่ได้เกิดเองขึ้นมาดื้อๆนะครับแต่มันเป็นสิ่งที่เราต้องเดินหน้าอย่างตั้งอกตั้งใจแล้วก็ใส่ใจอย่างเต็มที่อีกด้วยนะครับ and I think that this seminar is really sustainable because none of you waste the time. I look at the time here, you don't spend even 1 minute more than what we schedule. We spend sharp 60 minutes without me having to urge all of you in order to keep your time. That means you are well aware of the time available because time is resource as well. Big hands for the 4 gentlemen here. And now I think that we have another 15 minutes of time in order to address your questions. Should there be any kind of question from the floor? Are there any? That's me. We have been very clear. We have been very clear, so there is no questions. Oh, there is one. Wonderful. 2. I hope that with my long sight I can read it, or else I stretch my arm. Oh, the letter is pretty small. Okay, this is for NatStart, but I think should there be anyone who can answer, I mean, you are able to contribute that as well. Are there any kind of global, let's say, for example, global measures that punish those who are not sustainable?
Well, it's not a punishment in a way that the law is written to punish anyone for not comply with sustainability, but it's more like a social sanction or a soon to be what we call non-tariff barrier. Maybe Kun Prat can add to that later on. The consumer awareness, especially in the well-developed country that oriented to sustainability, they stop buying the product that is not green. They stop investing in the stock of the company that is not comply with the sustainability or ESG. They not even ban, and then social power is now more important than regulations or legal punishment. So by doing so, it's more of the customer-driven, society-driven punishment in a way that the company must comply with the sustainability. There might be a certain thing that, like Kun Prat said, that each country may develop some regulations in order to punish those who not only comply with, but also go in the opposite directions to the sustainability. For example, you don't treat your wastewater before you discharge, or a certain things. But I think Thailand is not a country that stand alone. We're not the island somewhere else on a different planet. So we do trade a lot, and that non-tariff barrier will become important, that enforced, even though we don't have a law in Thailand, but the international law that we send the products to will be much more important. But the most important thing is the consumer behavior.
One thing that sorry.
น้องเปิดไมค์ไว้ตลอดเลย
One thing that I would like to add about it is about the message that I got from COP26 with the CEO from Body Shop talk like this. Business is like the tree. Without water, the tree cannot stand still, right? At the same time, if business, no one would like to buy your product or service. How comes? Fire you will die. But you die. Why you stand? That's it.
Thank you ชอบปรบมือได้นะฮะ
Just to complement, I mean, of course, more than aligned on the fact that the consumers they choose by themselves, and on top of that, you know, all listed companies are judged by rating companies, and today there are important rating companies assessing the performance of the companies on sustainability. So to get the financing, to get the trust, to get the attractiveness of the investors, etc., you have to do it as well, right? So it's, again, all the ecosystem, consumers, rating companies, shareholders, etc., who are focusing or not on your company, depending on your level of sustainability. Yeah.
Thank you นะครับ and the next questions I think we have times for a couple of questions here. I would start with this for Schneider. I mean, the person who write down the questions should be from construction industry. Are there any kind of solutions or technology that will help construction industry or shopping mall in order to achieve the goal for sustainability?
Yes, of course. The solution exists. So I don't want to go into a very technical discussion, but you know, again, what I said, digital brings smart, bring efficiency. So, for example, today you have solutions, Schneider, and not only Schneider, by the way. Let me be transparent as well. You have solutions, building technology solutions, right, which are helping you to manage in a very smart way your building, your offices, your shopping mall, your hospital. Take a very basic example. You equip sensors, okay, sensors. You have presence detection. If there is nobody in the room, you switch off automatically the light. You have CO2 sensors, okay, where the sensor is measuring the level of what we call NOx, right, which is reflecting the number of people in the room. So the sensor is able to calculate the number of people, and then you adjust automatically the HVAC, the air conditioning system, to the real need of the number of people in the room. Same, when you arrive in your office, when you pass, the gate, automatically Mr. X is identified as entering the building. So that's the only moment where you switch on the air conditioning, again to save the energy. Just enough, just the number of people, just when you are here, when you need it, right? So all those solutions today, they exist and they are available, yes. Yeah. And not only for construction, I mean, for construction, for industry, data center, infrastructure, etc. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There is another question for you, but I would prefer to read it out first, and then I will ask another questions. It seems that your goal of tomorrow, 2025, will be carbon neutral. Seems to be extremely challenging. And then 2040, 2050, what are your milestones in order to achieve that? Okay, let's park for this, but I would like to ask one universal questions. That is, sustainable management costs more money. I mean, how should we manage profitability on the one hand and sustainability on the other? Who would gonna take that challenge? Only one who hold the microphone is you, so.
I would say like this. You will select to profit today, or you would like to select the profit for both, for you and for the globe in the future. The investment is depend on you, right? When you go to the net zero, no one requires you have to invest today, right? But depends on your pathway. You have to articulate in your pathway of decarbonization. And you have to hit the right time or the right technology and the right market in your business. So you have to taste off. But you have to taste off between present and future. You have to do something, you can act something for the green finance, for the long-term payment. If you can survive, who can survive, right? So with this, we can make the right balance in both our product portfolio and financial portfolio. And one key thing, finance can't drive everything, but sustainability will drive everything, not just yourself, but with the earth, but with the people, with the society, with the business.
Thank you very much for that. Very smart answer. Right time, right market, right resource, I think.
Philip Kotler was here about 4 or 5 years ago before COVID-19 pandemic, and he proposed a new paradigm of marketing that changed from the pyramid of the profit on the top and planet and people at the bottom to be the planet first and then profit and people at the base of the pyramid. The reason for that is Philip Kotler said that if there is no planet, there will be no profit and no people at all. So how do you drive that? It's very important. The way that you look at the profit, profit can come from the revenue that you increased or the cost that you save, or the more outreach to the market segmentation that you never outreached before. As I mentioned that the consumer segmentation is changed to sustainability, and Thai Union has demonstrated clearly that from one tuna fished, there are so many other things that we never get used before. So by looking at the circular economy approach alone can help you generate more revenue than selling just the red meat of the tuna or the white meat of the tuna. One classic example before I end that is the way to look at the profit is depending on the view that you look at whether it's going to be a cost for you in the future. The economics professor at University of Chicago said that sustainability is like a risk management back 30, 40 years ago, that people don't calculate risk back into the company. But when that comes into the consideration, and that, by the way, got the Nobel Prize in economics for taking into the consideration of risk, the same thing that you take into the consideration of sustainability today, because it's, as you said, it takes a long roadmap to get to where you want to be. So start now may be a little bit already too late, but it's better than doing nothing.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your answer. Wow. Please, good Prat.
I can add, yes. So it's a famous question that I get all the time, balancing between sustainability and profit. And yes, we can count on energy saving from solar rooftop, and that save you money, and interest rate saving from achieving on blue loan, etc. But I think yes, so if you even count those money, that's not going to be really offset the amount that you spend on sustainability. But for us, Thai Union, we always position company that we want to be a leader in sustainability. That's why we are willing to move first, right? We sometimes advance of the legal trend or sustainability trend, because we know that it's the vision of the company, and it's how we secure trust from our customers, who also care a lot about sustainability. So I think that's we sort of see as one of the corporate strategies as well. And the other part is, as I mentioned, I think sustainability, the legal trends around the world, different governments, and I think it's becoming kind of the, what do you call it, the license to operate. So if you don't do it one day, you might not be able to trade. You might not be able to legally exist as a company. And third, people ask questions about that because maybe they look a lot to leaders, sustainability versus profit. So they think that to do sustainability, you have to set science-based targets. You have to do all the things that the leading companies do, but that's not how I think a lot of leaders develop their strategy and vision. They don't come with a perfect menu from day one. For us, it's development over time. We progress from sustainability strategy, the first version in 2016, and we only became number one on the JSI food products 4 years later. And over time, we developed new programs, we developed new policies, etc. So it's not about being perfect on day one. I think that's an important perspective when you think about balancing between profit and sustainability.
Thank you very much. We have another 3-4 minutes, and I would like to ask Mr. Nus in order to contribute upon that topic and to share with us briefly about the milestone, should you wish to share about the milestone to achieve tomorrow's goal, 2025.
Yes, I think I mentioned that. So yeah, very, very ambitious goals by 25, being carbon neutral on our own operations. Again, I feel, and I will speak a bit personally here, but I think we are quite lucky. I feel myself quite lucky to be part of Schneider, because I think, yes, we are ambitious. We are very humble as well. So we learn over time. We have started a long time ago, but we have the chance to have a meaningful purpose. Okay, and that's one of the great drivers to reach ambitious goal. So. It's not only again about sales or profit. It's about balancing everything at the same time. And I think we made a mistake a couple of years ago. Not only us, but the overall community, I would say. We were believing that in order to be sustainable, you have to stop doing this. You have to eat yourself. You have to be very let's say, it was a negative perception, yeah, it will cost you, it will be painful. No. So the beauty of it is that it makes you, it's good for the planet, it makes, I mean, if I take my example, it makes me happy, okay? I'm super happy, proud to contribute to the community, and it's good ultimately for the profitability, you know, because again, yes, this is an investment one shot, but when you take this concept of total cost of ownership, meaning initial investment plus the time of operation, you generate savings. So, you know, it's a win-win-win-win approach. So that's the beauty of it, and I think now everyone, we have understood that, all the different stakeholders, private companies, public bodies, governments, etc. So that's the beauty, and I'm an optimistic person, so I believe, and seeing again this room fully packed, I'm very happy for the future, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that all of us can feel happiness as well as optimism from the four gentlemen as well. If you agree with me, please join me in giving a big round of applause to all of the four gentlemen. It is not an over-exaggeration to say that today we got not only information, knowledge, but we got wisdom and enrichment of our mind for the future world. All of you impressed me enormously today. Thank you very much. Anyway, today's session is not over yet because Schneider Electric Thailand prepare also the networking sessions out there where you can talk to each other, exchange experience, and inquire more intelligence as well as wisdom from the four gentlemen. So please join us in the networking session next door, I guess. And thank you very much, all of you, for having joined us here today. Thank you very much and goodbye. Thank you very much.